What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Final Fantasy XIV, the Realm Reborn podcast video series that I got going here. And you're joined once again by Leonesaurus. I thank you for tuning in once again, and welcome back. It's been 2 weeks, too long, I must say, yet again. But we got tons of information to talk about today. We got the new benchmark that came out with Character Creator, subtitled. So we're going to be going over that in a second, along with the letter from the producer that came out last week or so. And we also have some stuff to go over about pre-order registration codes, the live letter from the producer that's going to be on the 8th. That's right, the 8th of August. Sorry about mixing up my scheduled dates last week on the other episode. So we're going to straighten that out and talk about Phase 4 a little bit in a sec. And then we also have some stuff about some leaked data file stuff. Don't worry, folks, we're not showing anything on this episode about any leaked data file info of data mining, but I'll explain that whole situation when we get on a little bit later into the forum section. And then we're going to go over the key enemies and Ishgard and Ala Mhigo sections that were updated on the official promo website, along with the blog post updates and some more beta forum section posts from the devs and a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's jump right into it and let's get started. So first thing we are going to be going off on will be showing off the benchmark. You can see official benchmark character creation was released just recently. And you see here, if you come to this page by clicking on that link, you can download it. It tells you the requirements, what you need, what it expects out of your system to run it, the basic requirements, yada, yada, yada. Here's the download button right here. It also tells you how it works, like what to expect in this thing, the character creation button. Of course, I can't show off the actual video of the character creation in my video because technically it has audio and video motion display of the game. So I don't know if that's entirely safe to show yet. So to be on the safe side, I'm not going to be showing any video footage of the benchmark. I'll let you guys download that until I hear otherwise from Square-Enix themselves. We also have down here, you can see the new things that they added for the character creation, where you create your character, and you can pick different slots. Also, if you were in the beta, it saves your data from the characters that you created. So if you have created several characters from beta phase 3, and you participated in the beta test of that phase, all that information, as long as it's still saved on your computer in the files, like I mentioned in the previous video, all that data can get saved and ported over into the character creation benchmark and then saved again to the actual retail game. So there's about over 20 slots that you can save characters to, which is pretty nuts. It's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And let's see what else we got down here. Here's a score system, how you judge how good your system is on running the game. Of course, if it's over 7,000, it can run the game on max settings, no problem. And just a little tidbit for PS3 owners. We got a quote here from Kamate, just a little snippet from the forum section before we get into that later. He says, "Hello, the character creation aspect of the second benchmark is something that only accompanies the benchmark, and we have no plans to release a PS3 character creation demo." And the reason he's replying this is because people were feeling kind of left out, like PS3 owners aren't getting one, PC owners are getting favored. So Kamate is basically saying PS3 users will be able to create characters when the beta phase 4 begins, and we appreciate your patience until then. Also, as a side note, you will only be able to create your character's appearance with the new benchmark, and things like setting and reserving names won't be possible. So please don't be worried about others taking your name ahead of time. So the reason they did this is because the character creation was just a part of the benchmark. And there's really no reason to release a benchmark on PS3 because, let's face it, a console doesn't really need a benchmark. Benchmarks are used to test your PC to see how well it can run with the different specifications and things you have inside your system to see if it's okay. PS3 doesn't really need that. And the reason they're asking, well, why don't you just give us a character creation demo thing instead of the benchmark? And they're like, well, that's not our intention. That wasn't the intention of the benchmark. That we figured we throw in character creator just to give you a little bit of a head start and along with the beta to see how it looks in the benchmark itself by replacing the Makote paladin with your character that you created. So they're basically saying they don't want to get sidetracked. They want to concentrate more on the game. They don't want to go off and create demos and stuff like that if it's not really necessary. So yeah, it kind of sucks, but I mean, it's kind of one of the perks that you get with owning a PC is that you put more money into it, you get a little bit more out of it. So mods, extra benchmarks and stuff like that. downloads for wallpapers. And speaking of which, we're going to get into wallpapers in a second after we go over a couple more topics, and you'll probably already know what I'm talking about if you've been paying attention to the news recently. But anyway, I just also wanted to share real quick some of the characters that I created in my file folder. Some stuff that I created in the benchmark, Highlander female here, Rogadin I created wearing Darklight, Makote, another new Makote I created, Midlander in Heavy Darklight, who looks a lot like I try to recreate my main character, just have an extra preset for him. Makote male I created, which I'm very happy with. I think it was pretty awesome with the blue hair and lion tail I gave him. And I also created, let's see if I can find him here, a female Midlander here. And an Elizin, which I also created in Phase 3, which I carried over from the beta. And my female Rogadin, which I still want to patch up and tweak a little bit. Just add extra little touches here and there, but I try my best not to make her look like Butch Cassidy or something, because half the Rogadin females I see wandering around look like dudes. So, yeah, that's my Rogadin chick. My little Lalafell that I had for the March of the Lalafell event, which someone was asking me on a couple videos back if I could share that with the community, and I agree, I really should have done so, and I might try and fit one in sometime, because I do have a lot of screenshots and stuff from that event, so maybe I can see if I can do a bonus video and jumble a montage of that together or something and do some commentary over it. So let me know what you think if you guys want to see that, but that's my Lalafell that I used for the event. Here is my favorite character that I created, and if I wasn't using Jerbird as my main character, I'd probably be using her. This is my Highlander female that I created, which I'm very, very happy with. You'll be seeing a little bit more of her later once we get to the character creation and hero sharing forum topics on the forum section. And here's my score from basically playing on 1360 by 768. This is on my big screen LG TV. This is not a computer monitor. That's why you see the score increase and the difference in resolution. I got about 10,000, I think, or something like that on the average resolution that people use on computers. But I figure I'd share that section with you guys just to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what the character creation offers and what it's like. So the next thing we're actually going to head off to is the Letter from the Producer Live that's coming up on the 8th of August, which is this Thursday. It's Sunday I'm recording this, Sunday night. So I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4 days from now, give or take. Well, technically 3, because I do it very early in the morning on Thursday. So if you don't have work and you can stay up, I probably won't be able to watch it because I work on Thursday unless I can get off, but that's a little extreme. I could probably just stream it from there. Don't ask me how I can get away with that. But anyway, that's not the point we're focusing on. The point we're focusing on is that August 8th is when the next Letter from the Producer Live is taking place. And it's also hinted that sometime after, whether it's right after or that very weekend, we don't know which, or the next weekend, Phase 4 would be coming out. So I got my dates and my intel mixed up on the last video, and I do apologize for that. So hopefully people saw the correction. But right now, Phase 4 is unconfirmed. Nobody knows when it's going to be. Everyone's speculating, like, oh, is it coming out on the 17th or something? Or like the 16th of the next weekend? Or is it coming out right after the Letter from the Producer? No one knows. So I don't know. I can't even speculate because I don't want to confuse anybody. But I'm just going to say look out, and we'll announce stuff in the future whenever we get some intel, solid intel. But it is confirmed, by the way, that August 8th is the Letter from the Producer Live. It is going to be at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's 6, 7, 8 a.m. if you're Eastern Standard Time, which is my time zone if you're on the East Coast. You can also, by the way, there's a designated thread right here. So if you want to post your questions and stuff, single question, you have to do multiple posts if you want to do multiple questions. But if you want to post your questions that the team can answer while on the live stream, you send them here, and then they'll pick out the ones that are, I guess, Foxclon finds the best, and they'll share them with Yoshi P, and he'll answer them live. If you're not familiar with how these work usually, but you can also go on Twitter and you can do hashtag 14 FF14 and reply there with questions live during the actual live stream. And you can also, if you don't use the Lodestone forms, if you can't access your account on here, or if you don't have a pre-existing account, you can use the beta forums as well. They have an identical thread which you can find and leave your questions in there as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn pre-order code registration page. Now, probably some of you are wondering, like, what the hell is this? Well, if you remember way back, I think it was in May or something, when they first showed off and announced the Collector's Edition and Standard Edition and the release date for A Realm Reborn, they had the official Square Enix page where you could pre-order the game like I did, and as well as other websites and blah blah blah. So basically, if you got a registration code in your email after pre-ordering from the Square Enix store, or if you got a registration code from pre-ordering at GameStop or anywhere else where they offer it, the registration code for your Kate Sith doll minion and the Mog cap that you can get for pre-ordering, as well as the early access, will be on August 8th, the same day as the Letter from the Producer Live. So come back here. I will have this link in the description for you guys to check out. If you have the code, you enter it on here once it goes live on the 8th, and basically it activates to your account. So you not only get early access, but you get a Kate Sith doll minion to follow you around with, and you also get the Mog cap, which you've already seen from the pre-order pages across the internet. Okay, so let's see what we covered so far. So we went over the benchmark. We went over why the PS3 owners don't get the benchmark. We went over the Letter from the Producer Live that's going to be airing on the 8th of August. That's this Thursday at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that is 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can answer your questions here in the designated thread, either on the official Lodestone forums for Final Fantasy XIV Online or on the Final Fantasy XIV beta forums. There's an identical thread posted by Guildworks. You can find it on there. Or use the dev tracker. You can track it through there if you're having trouble finding it. And we also went over the registration page. So now we're actually going to jump into, real quick, the Letter from the Producer. So after this, I'm going to share another little thing with you guys, and then we're going to get back into the promo site. So let's jump right in. This is Letter from the Producer 48, I believe it is, if I'm not correct. Yeah, it is 48. Okay, so this is the 48th Letter from the Producer Live. This was on July 25th, 2013, so this was like a couple weeks ago. So I apologize for the lateness, but let's dive right into it anyway. It says, "Hello again to all you eagerly awaiting Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. With only a month left until release, the official is a bedlam of system, schematics, game designs, and empty Red Bull cans. Even so, I couldn't go another minute without sending out my 48th letter. First, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in Phase 3 of the beta test. Although character data had to be deleted at the end, players tested every nook and cranny of the game, providing us with a great deal of feedback. The development team and I can't thank you enough for all your help. As we continue to address all the feedback from Phase 3, we're squashing out a few final bugs and making some last-minute adjustments to the endgame battles. Completing the main scenario will get players to level 50, but the adventure doesn't end there. Being an online game, there will be regular updates to continue the story. So even if you reach the level cap shortly after release, there's no reason to think that you've hit the top. Considering all the plans we have to go for the game, you may want to get comfortable and prepare for a long stay in Eorzea. Let me use the Phase 3 Ifrit battle as an example. Although this battle is a level 20 encounter in the main story, after reaching level 50 you can take on harder version. Anyone looking to earn weapons from the primals will have to overcome these higher level fights. The various encounters we've created were designed with a hierarchy in mind, and as players progress through each tier, they'll naturally collect the optimal set of gear for that tier. All jobs were equipped with this optimal gear when conducted on our test. We've calculated the maximum DPS for these battles down to the decimal. But it's up to you guys to show us what you're made of, and reach for that level of precision. We've used debug commands to monitor DPS during our test, and our numbers are intense. Because these fights were so tough, it wasn't enough to play with just the battle team and myself. Thankfully, we managed to reel in a few dedicated gamers from the other departments to help us with our testing. Thank you guys so much. With that said, I think it's time for a long overdue dose of screenshots. Alright, so first he starts off by saying with Titan, the indomitable mountain. You've got a glimpse of him during the Crystal's Call trailer, but soon enough you'll have the chance to go toe-to-toe with this gargantuan fiend. You'll encounter him first during the main story in our 4-person battle, but in hard mode you'll need 8 players to take him down. Just wait until you see the extreme mode battle we're working on. Oh man. So, we'll zoom in here, we'll check out Titan real quick. Now here's Titan's arena. This is in Ogamoro. Now Ogamoro is the mountainous, volcano-looking region in the background of Vilebrand, where Limsa is located. Now Vilebrand is the island where players start on if they start in Limsa. And in the background, they'll notice a giant smoking volcano, which is a dormant volcano. It's now a mountain. And inside is the Kobold Sanctuary. The Kobolds live inside Ogamoro, which is the name of the mountain. And we talked about this previously in a video when they first showed off Titan on the promo website. But Titan is the Kobolds' primal, their god that they worship. Now, for those that played 1.0, remembers what Ogamoro looks like, because we explored the Ogamoro Mines, which is accessible to us, and it will be as well again for players in A Realm Reborn. I don't know how much has changed inside, but I'm pretty sure it looks just about the same, but expanded upon. Now, this is the arena that was never in the original game. This was blocked off, and people managed to like glitch through and hack their way inside and see it. And although it doesn't look like this, it does sort of resemble what it used to look like. But it was never accessible to the players ever, until now. So, originally, here's a fun fact I mentioned in a previous video. Titan was supposed to be the first primal ever implemented and introduced to 14. The reason why Ifrit became the first, and then subsequently Good King Amagomag the 12th and Garuda, is because at the time, I think it was in 2011 they had this happening, there was an earthquake that happened in Japan. A tsunamis, earthquake, something like that. And it was so bad that I think Square Enix had to take 11 and 14 offline for about like a week or so. They just had to shut it down because they lost power and energy and sources all around that area where the building was located. It was pretty nuts. So when they came back, they had to push Titan back, because if you think about it, if your country goes through some really terrible incident, like with a major earthquake with fatalities and buildings losing power and things getting destroyed and stuff, it's pretty insensitive releasing a giant crag of gods that does earthquakes for a living as a boss encounter. So you have to understand why they pushed him back, and they didn't want to be insensitive, which makes sense. I can understand that. But now they're finally coming out with him, so let's hope to Christ they don't go through another freaking disaster like that, because not only that would be terrible for Japan, but that would also suck for 14 players, because they'd have to wait for Titan again. But even though that's the lesser thing to worry about, but still, just figured I'd throw out that little bit of history for you guys that did not know about that. So right here we have the Titan battle. You can see all these abilities down here. I think he's playing, it looks like he's playing Thaumaturge or Black Mage right here. And this is Yoji P playing. He's got a full 8-man party on here. He's got about 20 minutes remaining. He's like, I don't know if this is the actual arena or if there's more to it, but it seems like it's inside the volcano. You can see the lava coming down. There is the crystallized ore or whatever hanging from above. It's pretty nuts. Now, apparently, if we go to this other screenshot over here, if I can load it up real quick, you'll notice you can actually get pushed off this arena. So if you're not being careful and watching out for his pushback attacks or his AoE pushbacks, whatever he uses, his earthquakes will send you flying off the map. Now, I don't know if you can get back after this, but judging from the screenshot, it looks like he has full HP. So I'm guessing you can find your way back up again or something. I don't know. But it looks like he's out of the arena if you look in the top right-hand corner. So not too sure about that. But that is pretty interesting because no other primal fight has been like that before. And I see this, he's like halfway falling off the frickin' thing. So he's like floating in midair while he's falling down from this. Probably just got pushed off from Titan or something. And you see Titan's health is almost down. He's almost dead. It looks like he has some sort of dot on him or something. I don't know if that's like a Thaumaturge dot or a Arcanist or Summoner dot or something. Not too sure. But that's an interesting thing right there. And then here's just talking about the screenshots that we looked at last time. So we get back to where we left off. He says, I somehow managed to stay alive to take screenshots. But with all my running around, there was no time to actually try and defeat him. I was about to get serious, but then came the fist. So I'm guessing the fist hits you and pushes you off this thing. And you go flying off the friggin' arena. and either you can't get back up and you die instantly, or someone has to raise you from up top to bring you back, or maybe you just run back up yourself, because I can't imagine you getting knocked off and permanently out of the fight. That'd be kind of retarded, but who knows. I'm not quite sure how this fight works, but judging from the screenshots, it works completely differently from Ifrit, Garuda, or Good King Mogglebog. So that's really neat how they have that incorporated. Before I knew it, I'd fallen out of the ring just like everyone else. We're all pretty serious gamers, so it was a bit of a shock, trying to keep straight faces. We couldn't help but laugh as he took us down one by one. We even toned it down a bit because we thought the damage may be a little high, or so I thought. And then you can see here their conversation. It translates to, "Tumult damage was reduced by 15%. And then he says, "But I thought that'd make it too easy, so I raised it by, 20%. And then Anonymous goes, "Ah!" And then Yoshi P goes, "ROFL, Raffle." And then Anonymous A goes, "That's all." Screenshot saved. Producer Director Yoshida says, "I've got to get this," in the next letter from the producer. So he shares all the stuff that they were testing out on Titan back then. It also says here, "We'll be making adjustments to really push these fights to the brink. A perfectly timed level 3 limit break just might be the difference between victory and defeat." You see here's a screenshot of the demon wall that we looked at previously. In case anybody missed it, this is the Ampedor's Keep Black Shroud dungeon that's located right next to Camp Tranquil in the Black Shroud. It's a Gridanian dungeon, and this is not the final boss of this dungeon of Ampedor Keep. This is like the mid-fight dungeon boss, blocking the pathway to the exit. It says, "Here's another high-level dungeon for 4 players. Naturally, we've covered up a few things to prevent spoilers, but you guys seem to have a knack for figuring things out. This is sure to be another exciting life and death battle. And Demon Wall is only the mid-dungeon boss. Who or what could be waiting for us at the end?" And I want to spoil it for you guys just because I'm an asshole, but this is actually Tiamat. This is the golden Tiamat. There's a blue one, and then there's this one. The blue one was showing the concept art way back, so that's technically not a spoiler. But this is the golden version that was actually leaked through data files back on a few websites. So this is a golden Tiamat for Ampedor's Keep, which is the final boss of this dungeon. And then the Demon Wall is the secondary boss, the one that's like the warm-up fight up until this guy. And this is well, actually, this is, I might actually got it wrong, because if Ampedor's Keep is a 4-man dungeon, they have 8 people here. So this is a different dungeon, as a matter of fact. Now that I look at it, this looks like, what is the name of that dungeon? Halatali, I believe, from Thanalan's region. And I actually did that dungeon in Phase 3. So this looks like the ring where you fight the ogre, but this might be a different dungeon or the same one. I'm not too sure. I think you have to come back for this particular mission for your relic quest. They updated it with new stuff you could do. So I actually got that wrong. I correct myself. I stand corrected. The Demon Wall is not the final dungeon of Ampedor's Keep, but we still don't know what it is. This one is a different dungeon because it's an 8-man dungeon with the Golden Tiamat boss. And this one, they're just 2 completely different ones. So this, I'm guessing, is a Black Shroud Ampedor's Keep dungeon, and this one is some Thanalan dungeon, which I'm guessing is Halatali or something that looks similar to it, with a Golden Tiamat boss. Let's see what else. Where do I end off? Okay, here we go. He goes, "I know players from version 1.0 are curious about their relic weapons, and this picture may give you an idea of what's in store for that quest." So that is a relic weapon quest that they did add. So they probably replaced that with Hamlet Defense in exchange for like a boss fight in a dungeon or something you had to do to obtain like a specific item, I'm guessing. The quest name in parentheses came from a debug command, so no need to decipher it. We hope you'll enjoy the changes we made in your quest to acquire the ultimate weapon. As a gamer, I use a lot of different keyboard and gamepad setups at home, but all of our tests for Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn have been done using a standard gamepad. Checking how difficult it was to finish battles and how much DPS we can put out. We'll do final checks and double checks of everything once gamepad performance is where we want it. Although we're making a product, it truly is a pleasure to be engrossed in this game all day. Final adjustments to the later battles are well underway, and soon everyone will be having as much fun as we are, and then some. Thank you all again to all the players around the world who took the time to test our game, and to the players from version 1.0 who've supported us from the very beginning. Release date is on the horizon, and we'll continue to give it our all to provide you with a great gaming experience. I have to go for now, but I'll see you all soon in my 8th live letter. Until next time. Alright, so that wraps up the letter from the producer live and the basic lodestone stuff. So let's move on to a next segment I want to share with you guys on DualShockers. Starting first is the Final Fantasy XIV TV commercial that got leaked recently, and you can find it on YouTube. I'm not going to show it to you guys for obvious reasons and copyright and stuff, but I will link it in my info box for you guys to check out. Probably have already seen it already, but this is not to be confused with the live action one we talked about in a couple videos back that they were going to be releasing in Europe. But this is also a European commercial, just not the one that the multi-million-dollar one that we talked about in a previous blog post. So check it out. It's a little something. It's nothing amazing. It's not going to change your world or whatever, get you super excited, but it's a little interesting if you're already committed to the game. The next thing I want to share with you guys is the wallpaper section that I mentioned earlier for Windows PC users and PlayStation 3 users. So I will have the link to this place as well. This is the collaboration site for A Realm Reborn and Lightning Returns, and they also have a download section for hitting over 1 million beta applications, and this is to celebrate for that. So for the download of this, they had some problems initially, but they fixed the errors. So if you had any errors previously trying to download this, try it again, and they should be working now. Now for the PS3 users, if you're having trouble with this, all you have to do is take a USB storage device or an external hard drive, plug it into your computer, and then all you do is go to your external hard drive, create a new folder, and call it PS3, like the one right here that I'm showing you guys. I'm going to highlight it for you. And then inside that PS3 folder, create another folder, a subfolder, and call it theme. So PS3 folder, within the PS3 folder, create another folder called theme, and then the download you get from this page, you want to stick in the theme folder, and then you just pull it out, stick it inside your PS3, go to install under themes, and then bam, ready to go. So I'll have this linked in here so you can read this over in case you have any more additional trouble or whatnot, or just message me if you have any issues. The next thing I wanted to share with you guys is, this was from my previous video, but I just want to go over it again in case anyone missed it, is backing up your HUD, UI, keybind, gear sets, and characters created in Phase 3. So if you spend a lot of time creating macros, character presets, you configuring your action bar for all your abilities, for all your classes and jobs, your gear sets, and you don't feel like doing that all again at launch, which is going to take you hours like I do, there's this guide that someone on Reddit posted on how to back up all this shit. So basically, I'm not going to read all this because I have to there's a lot of other things I have to get through in this video, but basically, if you follow this guide, he'll show you what folders you can go to. It's in your My Documents, My Games, Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn beta version folder, and then you take all these files and you basically save them in a backup folder or something, and then I guess you copy them over to your retail version of the game, and then I guess it saves and draws all your saved info and presets and whatnot. And it works for the benchmark too, by the way, for your character presets only. So check that out. That's really, really helpful, and it's going to save people a lot of time. So I'll have that linked from Reddit. The next thing I want to go over to is a little bit of a shout out to Gamebreaker. Now, this isn't a plug or anything. This is actually me legitimately coming up with a strategy here, and I'll explain in a sec after I do a brief introduction. So Gamebreaker TV is a MMO website that covers MMOs. So they go over stuff like World of Warcraft, Star Wars, Knights of the Republic, Guild Wars 2, and they recently brought back Final Fantasy XIV. So I've been watching them for a while. I've been covering their stuff and checking out their progress and everything. And earlier this year, I discovered that they had a video series for 14 back when it first launched. And I discovered this because I always heard rumors about this old show that they used to have, and I stumbled upon it. And I think I jumped on it like episode 7, and I started watching it because it was about like Tanaka and him raging on Twitter or something. And I started watching from episode 7, and I loved it. It was great. It's basically like what I do, but I think more professional, a lot more entertaining. And I really liked it. It was really cool. So I got a lot more respect for Gamebreaker after watching their series, and I'm finally understanding why they hated 14 so much when I first learned of them and didn't understand why they hated it. But after watching their video podcast series, I understood why. It was like watching a train wreck. But it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. So I was dying for them to come back with another series. And they finally did. They finally came back with the XIV podcast for Gamebreaker. and they launched this new website called the XIV Nation, which is the Final Fantasy XIV community. And I figured I'd create an account, I'd try and start something, give them a little bit of support, because even if you hate Gamebreaker and you don't like the people that work on the show and you don't like their attitude towards 14 or whatever it may be, the way I look at this is like this. The more people that support this game and give it screen time and spread the word to a wider audience, the better. Regardless if you don't like them or not, or if you love them or hate them, think of it as a mutual relationship. They give our game more coverage, they keep it relevant, they spread it to people that we can't cover, that Square Enix can't cover, that I can't cover, that I can't reach, and it spreads it to a wider audience that wouldn't normally pay attention to this stuff, and they might check it out. So, in return, we give them views, and the more views they get on their videos, on their live streams, the better they do, and the more successful it is, and the more money they rake in to keep doing it. So I figured, we get screen time, we get a lot of coverage, Square Enix gets a lot of coverage for their game. As long as they keep doing what they're doing the right thing, they get positive feedback, and people learn about it more. And then Gamebreaker gets a lot of attention because they see that their 14 show is the most popular one. I mean, 2,000 people turned into the first episode last Tuesday. Now, speaking of Tuesday, here is the schedule I printed out that Gary Gannon has on who's the host of the show and is a big part of Gamebreaker. Some of you may know him. And he sets up the show every week, and he comes on with his one of his cohorts, Mike, and they recently had Mr. Happy, who you may be familiar with from YouTube as well, who does videos like these. So they had him on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're on the East Coast like I am. So tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Gamebreaker, and you can check it out. I'm going to be watching it. You can probably find me on there, because I'm going to be checking it out and seeing how they do. I'm interested to hear people's opinions from the outside, so I like watching this type of stuff, and I really encourage people to do it. Even if you don't like Gamebreaker, think of it as helping 14 look better, and in turn it helps Gamebreaker, it helps our game, it gets more coverage, and it's the more the merrier. That's the way I look at it, so... And nobody contacted me telling me to do this. This is doing out of my own free will. And even on a previous episode, I did like a little Gamebreaker intro spoof from their old show for anyone that spotted that. So I really like it. So I'm happy that they brought the show back. It's pretty cool. Not a lot of people outside of the fans do this type of stuff. So I'm happy for it. So look forward to the next episode on Tuesday. Again, at 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern. And we'll check it out there. So that is the Gamebreaker section. I just wanted to wrap up. And if you come on the XIV Nation site, you can chat with people here and meet some new guys, chat and stuff. It's still new. It's very early, but I did a couple posts just to like share screenshots or whatever and say hi. But you got to give it time to grow. So head on over there and give them a hand and help 14 look better overall and spread the word. So, all right, that wraps up that section. Sorry for the ramble there. But the next part we're going to go into is the promo website. So we got a lot to go over on here. First, we're going to start off by going over the key enemies, which is my favorite section. I'm really looking forward to going over this. We have the enemies of the Garlean Empire. We have Gaius Van Balsar, a.k.a. the Black Wolf. He is the main baddie of Final Fantasy XIV. And he is leader of the 14th Imperial Legion of the Garlean Empire. Wields a gunblade. And he is one badass motherfucker. He's probably one of the coolest looking Final Fantasy villains I've ever seen. He's got this awesome helmet like a judge from 12. His badass looking eyes. His freaking awesome coat. And like gauntlets. And I'll tell you, when I first saw this guy, like I just shit myself. Because after grinding for like 3 months and seeing a cutscene of this guy pop out. Shooting freaking beams out of his wrist cannon. And shooting gunblade bullets and flinging things all over the place. And explosions everywhere. This guy made quite the impression on me, so I really like Gaius a lot. He's a pretty awesome guy. Can't wait to see more of this character in 14. Now here we have Nael Vendarnis, who is the White Raven. He was the boss at the end of the game of the original Final Fantasy XIV. I have a video you guys can go check out on my site of us doing the normal battle. And then my buddy actually got us recorded of doing the hard mode fight as well, which we got our White Ravens on. So, pretty neat fight. Really awesome character. This guy is like the Kefka of 14. He's fucking insane. This guy just drops an entire moon with a dragon inside of it on the entire friggin' realm. So, he's he's pretty nuts. He's out of his mind. He's literally insane. So you can read up on his description there. Talked about him last time with the White Raven debacle. And here we have Nero Tolskeva. So we got Nero here, who is the Magitech Maniac guy. We saw him in Beta Phase 3 in one of the cutscenes, if you guys remember. You'll see him throughout the main story early on. He's one of the Garlean Empire's legati, or legatai, however you pronounce it, that is under Gaius's order. So it says Tribunus Lactavius of the 14th Imperial Legion, which is Gaius's legion, known in his native Garlemald for his groundbreaking contributions to the field of Magitech. In recognition of his capabilities, he was made Gaius Van Balsar's second in command. Even so, he continues to oversee the development of Magitech weaponry, which ever remains his foremost passion. In battle, Nero wields Mulgener, I think I pronounced that right, a mighty gun hammer of his own design. So this fucking thing looks out of this world. Like, it's just a freaking giant hammer, like straight out of Monster Hunter, but it's a gun hammer. So I'm guessing this thing like spins and rotates like a chain gun or something and does like rapid fire shots at the player, which is kind of cool. And I was surprised to see that he had a gun hammer as his primary weapon, because in the in beta it showed him with a gun lance, or not a gun lance, I'm sorry, a gun blade like Gaius's, if people remember that cutscene. So he's really cool. If you played beta, you already know what he looks like underneath his helmet. Pretty neat guy. I'm really excited about seeing more of Nero. He's a pretty cool character. And then here we have Livia Sas Junius, who's really hot looking. Pretty awesome stormtrooper looking armor. Tribunus Angusta Clavius of the 14th Imperial Legion. I can't believe I pronounced that right. Livia is a decorated soldier and proven battlefield commander. Raised by Gaius Van Balsar after being orphaned by war, Livia devoted herself to the arts of soldiery that she might repay her adoptive father. Aglia, the gun banakas, or however you pronounce that, she wields, are permanently wielded to her armor. By the way, I have no idea how to pronounce it, so please someone fill me in on that. I have not been able to pronounce that weapon's name for like 3 years on 14, so I just call them banakas or whatever. But please assist me on that, because I sound like an idiot. But basically, they're like monk weaponry. Like, imagine monk's fist strapped to the wrist of the gauntlet, but they're guns. So it's like she's like a melee wielder of fist fighting with these like claws, like a predator, and it shoots guns and stuff off them. It's pretty neat. So that sounds sick. Now it's interesting that she's adopted by Gaius. So Gaius is her adoptive father. She's like the daughter he never had. And I guess like there was some war or something that she got orphaned. I don't know which. Maybe from Ala Mhigo, or she looks like an Elizin or a female Hure. So I don't know where she falls under. But very interesting character. I'm interested to learn more about her and see what she looks like underneath. And here is Riditin Sas Arvina. Now, this is the guy we looked at last time that we're showing off in the screenshot that players were fighting for the level 49 Legatus fight. Now, it says, though native to a territory subjugated by the Empire, Riditin nevertheless serves as a Prefectus Castrorum of the 14th Imperial Legion. The Rogadin was awarded the rank of Gaius Van Balsar himself, or was rewarded by Gaius Van Balsar himself, the Legatus more interested in recognizing the mercenary's exceptional martial prowess rather than the origin of his birth. Riditin wields a unique gun shield named Tartarus. So yeah, he has 2 giant great shields on both of his wrists that apparently shoot guns on him too. They're like cannons, so that's really interesting. Now, it says he's from a territory subjugated by the Empire. Now, this leads me to believe this is Ala Mhigo he hails from, because Ala Mhigo is under Imperial control. It's also being under control by the 14th Imperial Legion, which is Gaius Van Balsar's legion. So it leads me to believe that he was born in Ala Mhigo, he's an Ala Mhigan, and he's got recruited into the Empire by Gaius and awarded this special rank to him by Gaius himself because of his expertise. So, and then here's the Ashians. Now, these guys were a fucking mystery and a half for about 30-something years, man. Let me tell you a little brief story about the Ashians, okay? And when I mean brief, really brief. At one point in the original Final Fantasy XIV, there was a quarrel between the Beastmen tribes, the Ixali and the amal'jaa, in the deserts of Thanalon. Now, you're sent there to calm them down by the crystal trade that used to work in tangent with them, And apparently there was bad dealings going on with the crystal trade, and the Beastmen wanted to hog them all to themselves. So the Ixali and the Mul'dah were fighting over it. So you get sent there by the Crystal Consortium to see what's going on, to calm them down. After you calm them down, they start arguing about their primals and stuff and thwarting each other, and all of a sudden, this freaking hooded Grim Reaper looking thing that's floating in the background appears and just scares the living shit out of the Beastmen, and they just go scattering in different directions. You don't know what it is, you don't know where it came from, you don't know what it wants, what its story is, or anything. All you know is that it's called an Ashian, it looks like a Grim Reaper, and it scares the hell out of the Beastmen. That's all we know. And it was like a plot hole. It got brought up, and then never got brought up again. It was never solved. It was never talked about. It was never, there's just nothing about it until now. So I'm going to read the paragraph, and then I'm gonna fill in the second part of the little lore story in a sec. So it says, known as the Paragons. Remember that. Known as the Paragons, these malevolent black-robed figures sow the seeds of conflict across the lands of Eorzea. Just as their faces are concealed by sinister masks, the true motives of the Ashians remain obscured behind veils of secrecy and terror. So, we still don't know what their goal is, but we do have confirmation that the story is going to be centering around them as like the pinnacle. So even though it's about the Empire and the Primals and all this stuff, I have a feeling they're going to be the true villains of this game that are going to be manipulating everybody from behind the scenes. The Empire, the Primals, the Beastmen, us, everybody. So, and you also see them in the trailers, and if you played Beta Phase 3, you've seen this guy and his followers numerous times throughout the main story. So you already have a taste of what the Ashians are about and what they're after. Of sorts. Not exactly, but you have somewhat of an idea of their game. So, the thing I want to say for part 2 was the Paragons. The Paragons were brought up, I think, once or twice total in the original Final Fantasy XIV. The Paragons were the people that taught the beast tribes how to summon primals, like Ifrit, Garuda, Leviathan, Titan, things like that. They taught the beastmen how to do this, and then they left. No one ever saw them again. No one ever heard from them. No one knew what they looked like, who they were, what they could do, anything. So apparently now we know that the Ashians are also known as the Paragons. They're one and the same. That was never known until this little brief paragraph was released to us publicly just a few days ago. So this blew my mind when I first saw this. I was like, holy shit. We finally got confirmation that the Paragons are one and the same as the Ashians. So there's a linkage there. So the Ashians, who are these villainous bastards who are doing these things behind the scenes, also taught the beast tribes how to summon primals. So if they have the knowledge of summoning primals, it leads one to believe that they also are the ones that summoned and created Bahamut, maybe. We don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they're gods themselves or if they learned from the gods how to summon primals, because someone had to have taught them how to summon, and then they taught the beast tribe how to summon, then eventually we learned how to summon. So I have a feeling that the summoner quest is going to be tied to the Ashians in some way, shape, or form, and mention the Paragons again, along with the main story scenario. So there's so many answers out there that I still don't know, and so many questions that I keep thinking and bringing up. And I wish I could sit here and do a whole video talking about this and bringing up theories, and theories that I've seen on the Lodestone forums talking about this, but it's all unconfirmed, it's all just speculation. So best thing I'm going to say is look forward to it. It's going to be pretty awesome, and I can't wait for it. So that is the Ashians in a nutshell right there. And then here's obviously the first Emperor of Garlemald, his Radiance, Solus Solus Galvis. So I'm not going to get too much into him, but he's basically the current Emperor who formed the Garlean Empire back in the day, and apparently he's growing really weak, and there's rumors of some of his subordinates going around plotting to overthrow him and take over his throne or some sort. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. The next segment I want to go into is talking about Ishgard and Ala Mhigo. Let's start with my favorite of these cities, Ishgard. This is the first time ever I've ever seen concept art of Ishgard. I've never seen it anywhere, ever. I've seen screenshots. I've been there myself, right outside the gates. I've never seen concept art. And let me tell you, this looks freaking beautiful. I love Ishgard. I've never been inside it. I don't know what it looks like, but just seeing how mysterious it is, how awesome it looks, the architecture, this giant drawbridge that extends all the way out to this city that hangs above a bottomless cliff surrounded by these beautiful mountains and scenery and everything. It's just so magical and fantastic that I fell in love with it. And you can't really see it here, but this is the actual city-state flag. It has a rose, a bell, a tower, and a unicorn on it. So I have a feeling that that unicorn mountain that people have been seeing around in the data files is actually obtained somewhere in Ishgard or Korthus as a mount. So considering that the Ishgardian flag has a unicorn on it, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that there are links in some way, shape, or form. So it says, the central region of Abalathia's spine, the great mountain range that spans Aldenard from east to west, can be found foreboding the highlands of Korthus and the holy see of Ishgard. The archbishop of the church, while leading his people in the teachings of Halone, the Fury, rules also as the nation's sovereign. Ishgard's formidable army of knights wages constant battle against its mortal enemies, the dragons, faced with ever more aggressive attacks from its serpentine foes, as well as an unprecedented spell of bitter cold. The Thalacracy's days are dark indeed. Matters have grown so grave as to prompt the Archbishop and his advisors to consider throwing open the heretofore sealed gates of Ishgard and calling for outside aid. So, interesting stuff right there. You can see some of the locations here of a fortress and this giant obstruct in the background in Korthus in this new snowy region. You see a nighttime section of Camp Dragonhead, it looks like, at night. You see a bunch of Ixali and Nadalon, their stronghold, sitting by a campfire. And this, somebody's going to have to help me with this. This looks like something out of like a previous Final Fantasy. It could be something from Final Fantasy XII. It could be something completely new. I don't know which. Looks pretty awesome. Looks like a winged demon or something, or some type of like, I don't even know. It looks pretty sweet, but it's in the Korthus area, which is interesting enough. So if someone fill me in on what the hell that is, and I'll check it out in the wiki or something. Here's some sort of ruined thing, whatever it may be. I'm not quite sure because this was not in the original Korthus. So this is like a new area. It's obviously been ruined from the Calamity, so could be like a church, could be a tower or something, not sure which. And then here is the Gates of Judgment. This leads into the city of Ishgard itself. And then here looks like, I think this is also Camp Dragonhead as well. You can see Ishgard in the background, the towers looming above. And then you can see the gate that leads from the Gate of Judgment to the drawbridge, and then inside the city itself. And then here's like an icy river, which looks really neat. Now there's some type of reptilian monster that's sitting on the floor there next to an ice elemental. Not quite sure what that is. Maybe someone can help me out there, because I've not seen that before. So yeah, crystallized lake right here from a previous Korthus. It's pretty neat. And that wraps up the Korthus section. So now we're actually going to head into Ala Mhigo. Now this is the first time we've also seen what Ala Mhigo actually looks like, and the first time we've ever seen what its flag looks like, which is the hippogriff, or the griffin, which is its flag symbol. Now Ala Mhigo was ruled by the Highlander Hures, male and female, and it was taken over because of a dispute that they had with their inner dispute within the city walls. I guess there was an army of monks that the city's ruler had, and I guess he was an asshole of a leader, and I guess he used to argue with his army all the time of monks, that eventually they fought each other and grew really, they weren't watching their defenses, and then the Empire came in and basically fucked them up and took over the city. Now that's a story in a nutshell. That's not the whole story, but that's basically how they got taken over and thwarted. So now they're under Garlean rule, and they're in Eorzea. They're to the east of the Black Shroud, so they're east of Gridania, and there's a whole history behind feuds with Gridania and Ala Mhigo and all sorts of backstory that you guys can read up on once you guys play the game. But here's a brief description of it. It says, the highlands of Gyra-Bania and the eastern reaches of Aldenard were once under the control of the martial nation known as Ala Mhigo. It was perhaps the historically conflicted nature of the territory that forged the country into a significant military power. Even as this aggressive nation sent its forces to conquer in the west, it repelled repeated attempts at invasion from the east. In the year 1557 of the 6th Astral Era, however, it finally fell to the incursions of the Garlean Empire. From that time onwards, the country became merely another imperial territory under the governance of its usurpers. Though the people of Ala Mhigo were once revered Rhalgar the Destroyer as their patron deity, any such religious observation has since been forbidden by the controlling authorities, because the Garleans don't believe in gods. They don't believe in any of that shit. They hate that stuff. They hate the primals. They believe in their false gods. They don't believe in the 12. None of that stuff. So that's why they don't allow, they strictly forbid anyone from praying to gods and the 12 or any of that crap. That's why they're no longer able to revere Rhalgar the Destroyer, who is the patron deity of Ala Mhigo for the Highlanders up in that mountain region. Okay, so that's going to end this section for the promo website, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the blog section. So let's head on over there. Alright guys, so now we're in the blog section on the promo website. We have the Flying Fairy. So we're going to actually work our way from the latest to the oldest. So Flying Fairy was just released today, which is actually a funny thing, because if you think about Bravely Default Flying Fairy, the subtitle, is another Square-Enix game RPG on the 3DS. So I actually want to pick up, by the way. It looks really interesting, like a classic Final Fantasy style game. But anyway, getting sidetracked. Flying Fairy was focusing on the fairy pet for scholars. So it says, "Greetings, Bayoni here with our third." Excuse me, Bayoni here with the third in our updates that take a look at the upcoming pet series. Today we're looking at the Scholar's Pet Fairy. Here's Fairy Eos. And here's Fairy Celine. Now, personally, I actually like how Eos looks better. I like the hairstyle on her. It's like a longer hairstyle. I like the colors a little bit more. But Celine looks really cool, too. I like how they look different. So, they show here, like the fairies like looking at each other and examining each other or whatever, talking, exchanging words. And here's the two scholars just looking at them like, okay, let's let our little fairy fellas chat it up. The hat looks interesting. Oh, it's not like square shaped. It's kind of like diamond shaped or something, like an octagon or something. Looks kind of interesting. Now here you can see all the scholars in Limsa lined up one another. Actually, it's not Limsa. This is Wineport, I think, or no, Aleport, I think. Yeah, Aleport. And you can see all the different races in the scholar gear for the Lalafels, the Rogadin, the Elizin, and the Hures, along with the Mokote as well. So that is pretty neat. Checking out the fairies. The next thing I want to go over to real quick before I jump to the next one is the Eggy sighting news, everyone. This is showing off the Eggies for Summoner. So you can see here it is the Ifrit Eggy for Summoner, the Titan Eggy, and the Garuda Eggy. Now, me personally, I think I actually kind of like the Ifrit Eggy. I'm starting to like it a little bit more now. The Titan one, if it weren't for the hair and the mohawk, I probably wouldn't like it as much, but that little touch does make it more bearable. I think it could have been better, personally, but it's okay. I mean, the rocks animations going around it as it's moving might look pretty cool, but I think the Garuda one looks badass. Like, it's got like a fucking bird beak, like I originally imagined Garuda was going to look like. It has bird wings and stuff. It actually has feet. Looks pretty cool. I think it looks pretty nice. So, I really like the Ifrit one and the Garuda one. Now, I will admit that I'm in the same boat as the people saying they would like slightly bigger versions or looking a little bit more like the primals, but not necessarily the primals. But they still look pretty cool. I like them. I can get used to them. And then it shows here the summoners in their armor all lined up in Limsa. You have the Lalafels, the Makote, the Hures, the Roganins, and the Elizin all wrapped up from front and behind in their summoner AF gear with their grimoires as well. So it was really, really cool. Alright, now for this one, it says a benchmark with character. Now this is showing off the same day that the benchmark download software came out. Just showing you basically how it works, that if you create a character in the benchmark, you can import it into the actual benchmark tests. So you see Bayoni drew these little arrows here showing you where your character gets replaced with the preset character. So any race with, I think it's got about 4 or 5, maybe 6 costumes you can put them in and out of ranging from swimwear to dark light to level 20, 30, and 40 gear. And then you get the race-specific starting gear, and you also get their AF that you can try them out in. And it shows up in the cutscenes, which is pretty cool. Another little neat thing is they added Summoner to the benchmark as well, which was not in previously. So you can spot Summoner in there in a few shots, which is pretty neat. The next one we're going to show is the Elevator, FF 14 Action. So you can see that they started promoting 14 in Japan on elevators. You can also see the escalator artwork. So as you're going down and up the escalator, you can see this thing printed up top on the ceiling of A Realm Reborn. And then in this one, you can see it on the sides of the escalators and stuff, which is really cool. And then you can see another one on the opposite side, and going down here again as well, and even more. Like, it's just all over the place. It looks so cool. Like, you see all the jobs and the races artwork printed all over, the CG screenshots taken from the trailers printed all over, and the logo looks really, really nice. So they're doing a really good job promoting this in Japan and Europe, but hopefully we get one in North America, which would be really nice for Americans to get a hold of and see the game more. And the next one we have is Dungeon Diving. Now I'm not going to show this video for two reasons. One, we got a lot more stuff to go over, and I don't want to waste your guys' time because I'm sure everyone's already seen this video. And two, everyone's probably been in Beta Phase 3 by now, so they already know what these places look like. So it's just basically a crawl through all the dungeons in Beta Phase 3, showing what they look like. Now, if they come out with another one that's for like launch and stuff, because this is known as Part 1. Part 2 I will most likely go over, but I just will link this here for you guys to check out if you want to see. Now, they have concept art of the dungeons, so they have Copperbell Mines. This one, I believe, is Halatali and Thanalan. Yes, it says Halatali right there. 1,000 Miles of toto-rak, which is really fun. I really like that one a lot. Hawkeye Manor, I love, with the succubus and the mansion, like Resident Evil style. And then Brayflox's Long Stop is my favorite out of the whole bunch. It's an outside dungeon for the first time, taking place in a goblin village in the jungle with, like, all sorts of reptiles and dragons and stuff. It's really neat. So you can check that out in the video. It'll give you a crawl through all the different sections that we got to play around with in beta. And if there's any future ones for launch and new dungeons, like the new Arum Vale, Cutter's Cry, Decimal Darkhold, and any other stuff they add, I'll be sure to cover it. And then the last one we have to go over is the Carbuncle Cometh. Now, this is showing off Carbuncle for Arcanists. You have the Emerald Carbuncle and Topaz Carbuncle. You start off with Emerald at around level 3 or something. Like, one of the early levels, you learn him and you get him. And Emerald Carbuncle is like the standard Carbuncle. It's like the one you remember from Final Fantasy XI. He can cast and he can also cure. Now, Topaz Carbuncle, you get a little bit later. I think it's around level 15 or 20 or something like that, in that ballpark range. And what Topaz Carbuncle is more of a tank. So he does like massive AoE stuff. Like I think he does some AoE target spells you can do on enemies to gather their hate. He's kind of like a Chocobo that's tanking for you, but maybe a little bit more optimized since it's an actual class. So you have a caster healer type Carbuncle, which is like the original blue, and then you got the Topaz Carbuncle, which is a tank type, which is golden. And then you see a cool shot of the Huriner swimwear sitting in one of the springs on Leonesaurus with their Topaz Carbuncle. Looks pretty cool. So I'm excited to play Arcanist. I think that's the first thing I'm going to level when I get in. So as soon as I get in the game for Phase 4 or whatever, we're going to see if we continue our Relic Reborn quest. And then first, obviously, before we can do any of that, we have to start in our starting city. So I'm starting as Arcanist in Limsa, which is my favorite city in the game, and I get to start with my favorite new class because I love pet classes. So looking forward to that, and hopefully I can level that up to 50 without any distractions besides maybe the relic stuff. But I really want to get it to 50 so I can try Summoner and Scholar out and do endgame stuff and get gear for it. But yeah, looking forward to that. So let's see what we got next on the list. So we're done with the blog updates. We went over all the blog stuff. We talked about Carbuncle. We talked about the dungeon crawl video. We talked about the promotions in Japan. We also went over the Eggies, the fairies, and the benchmark stuff, what to expect in there. So when we come back, we're going to go over to our final section of the video before we wrap things up, which is the beta form section. So let's hop on over there. Alright, we are now in the beta tester forum section. Ooh, watch out guys, this is that scary place again. Holy shit. Watch out for them trolls. Alright, so beta tester forum. So we're going to steer clear of any assholes on here. We're going to stick to the good stuff for the dev tracker section. So we're first starting off with this lovely little reminder here of saying, notice, do not post unreleased information on the forums. Alright, so basically, to summarize this, I was mentioning this earlier, but a little site called XIV Database was, they usually come out with data mine info early in advance of patches and stuff. And I use it regularly myself, along with everybody else. Now, Dr. Mog's Dave of War page also came out with this and some stuff, along with several other places, but those were the two mains that I've come across, along with Reddit, which I'll mention in a sec. Now, as you can see down here, it says Square Enix has requested the removal of all benchmark data. The database has been rolled back to Phase 3. So basically, when the benchmark came out, people started data mining it and found a shit ton of stuff inside of it. So you can only imagine what Phase 4 download is actually going to have inside it as well. So people say this could be outdated stuff. This could be actually up-to-date, true, legitimate information that they downloaded. But basically, it was all data mine info of Darklight gear, new Darklight stuff, abilities, armor, weapons, all sorts of crap. And it was tons of information, even on Fisher, too. And what he's saying here is people started posting threads about it and links to it on the forums. And I guess the reps found out about it and started going to all the major sites that were talking about it and showing it off and displaying it. So eventually 14 DB got caught in the wind, and they had to take all their stuff down. So right now, as you can see, if you go to items, it's all stuff from Phase 3, if I can pull it up real quick. So yeah, you don't see any of the stuff that was here before, like all the Relic +1s, or the AF +1s. None of that stuff's here. It's just all stuff from Phase 3's time. Now, that stuff's all released publicly, but all the stuff that was shown here was not. So they say basically don't post that stuff on the forums or elsewhere, blah, 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 and that's usually what this is saying. So the next thing I want to segue over to, by the way, 14 Database is an awesome fucking website. If you are playing this game and plan to, screw the other websites, come here. This is the best one. You want to know why? Because they got 14 models as well. Want to see awesome models that are going to be in the game? Want to see 3D rotations of every single monster model in the game for a bestiary? Come right here. They're going to have this all set up on launch day, they say here. And each day they showcase like a glimpse of a model, and if you guess what it is, they actually show it off. So the last thing they showed was the behemoth from Final Fantasy XIII that's going to be in 14, coming with Lightning. They showed other stuff like Atomos, who was in 1.0, who's making a comeback. They showed some other stuff, if I can pull it up here. They showed an Exali with like some shaman looking mask on. And they have some other stuff in here too. They have tons of new mobs. And the latest one, I have no idea. I think this is this looks like another monster that I actually saw someone data mine, but I'm not gonna give away what it is. I'll let you guys come in here and check it out. But it's something, if it is what I think it is, it's definitely something very odd looking. I'll say that much. Anyway, awesome website. Check it out. 14 Database is all the information you need on recipes, skills, freaking main scenario quests, achievements, minions, all that good stuff. So head on over here. Use this. It even has a map feature too. Check this out. Map viewer. Look at this. You can view the entire map of Eorzea if it loads here for a second. Now let's say you want to go to Leonesaurus. Okay. Boom. Click on that. Oh, what's that? Oh shit, the whole Leonesaurus region. That's awesome. And then watch this. Oh, let's say we want to go to Upper Leonesaurus, right? Fuck it, let's do Outer Leonesaurus. Oh, boom, what's that? Oh shit, Outer Leonesaurus map. So you got the whole map here. And by the way, you can actually see inside blocked off areas like Ogamoro. This almost looks exactly the same as the layout from the original Ogamoro, which is really fucking funny. And right up here, in the top right-hand corner is, I think, where it led to, right, well, somewhere over here on the right-hand side, upper right, is where it led to Titan's Lair. So yeah, that's the Ugamoro Mines. Looks about the same layout, pretty cool. So yeah, you can just zoom in. It has like little camps and aetherytes marked on here. So if you ever need a map and you're not in the game, or you need to find something, or whatever the case may be, head on over to 14 database and utilize that shiza. Really good stuff. So next thing I want to actually segue into is the Reddit section. Now, I don't really use Reddit. I just kind of like came upon it because of all the 14 stuff. I might actually start using it more because they have some really good stuff over here. People seem really cool. The posts seem really awesome. Lots of neat screenshots people post and things people share. I highly, highly, highly recommend signing up and checking out the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn section on Reddit. Really good stuff. If you don't like the forums and you don't like the people on there, I would definitely say come here instead and chill out, because it's a pretty nice place. I'm actually planning on using it a lot more and coming here more often. But yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to the guys on Reddit for this page and the really awesome job that they did with this whole setup. So good job, guys. Keep it going live, keep going strong, and hopefully this shout out gets some more people in the community and checking it out. So, all right, so back to the forum section. We have Hivener here talking about the Chocobo emotes and being mounted with doing emotes. He says, while we don't have any new information on Chocobo-specific emotes, excuse me, we can say that in Phase 4 we will be making it possible to perform certain player emotes such as wave, cheer, and look around while mounted or sitting down. So that's pretty cool for people that wanted to do emotes while on Chocoback or on Gububack or whatever mount you're riding. Now the next one is just a little lemon juice. Add some heat and voila! The guy says, is it possible to have hotbars with invisible backgrounds? It's annoying having a full-length hotbar when you only have a few skills on it. And Hivener comes in and says, looking at the images posted in the most recent letter from the producer, you might have noticed already, but we've been adding a setting that allows you to make unused hotbar boxes transparent. By arranging and organizing, you should be able to make extremely customizable hotbars. Additionally, we will be adding a setting in Beta Phase 4 for both PS3 version and the Windows version, so that when you're not pressing the L1 and L2 and R1 and R2 buttons, the cross hotbar will be hidden. Everyone has different ways they would like to play, and we would like you all to play the way it makes you feel comfortable. So that is pretty awesome. Checking that shit out. So if you have any more suggestions about the UI and stuff, head on over to the option to remove UI displays that we don't want thread, and I will have that linked so you can check it out as well. Pretty cool stuff. So yeah, that's that little tidbit. Here's another big one from Naoki Yoshida, producer and director himself. This one is about lag, like input lag and whatnot. Now, if you remember the Ifrit fight, if you're a 1.0 player, I don't even have to explain this to you. You guys already know what I'm talking about. For newcomers, this is about like something happening in game, you jumping out of the way, you looking like you dodged it, but you still getting hit by it. That is lag. Or latency issues is the proper term. So he comes in because a lot of people were complaining that the whole reason this game was remade was to fix the server latency and improve the server connection. And a lot of people noticed that there was still lag in Ifrit. So Yoshida comes in and says, area attacks and latency issues. Producer and director Yoshi P here. Thank you all for your feedback on latency issues and the evasion of enemy attacks. As we continue working to address these issues in time for Phase 4 and release, I'd like to inform you all of the current situation. This post will focus on area attacks that are difficult to evade, or still connect even if you appear to have avoided it. Damage taken when Ifrit uses Eruption. When Ifrit used Eruption in Phase 3, the animation had a momentary buildup before the explosion. Because of this momentary buildup, there was a slight delay between the server's check and the explosion. This has already been corrected for Phase 4 and release. So it sounds like they've taken note of our feedback on that area, and looks like they patched it up. So when I get back in there, I'm definitely testing it out and seeing if they actually fixed it. Plus, I'm playing on a United States and European server now, so I can also test and see if it's better on there as well, since I've been playing on Riddle, which is now a Japanese server. So that's going to be 2 improvements I'm going to be checking up on come launch day. So the next thing he says is damage taken for what looked like a near miss. Number 1, registering player damage. In Phase 3, when judging whether a character was standing in an attack's area of impact, your position was checked using a circle around your character to represent the space your character stands in. Furthermore, to keep the different races balanced, the radius of this circle was the same for all characters. Because of this, even if you appeared to have barely escaped the area of effect, a portion of the circle was still within range. This created the illusion that you barely evaded the attack, with varying results depending on your race. For Phase 4 and release, the circle has been reduced to a single point at the center of where your character is standing, to more accurately determine your position. Number 2, enemy progress bars and area of impact. Being an online game, there will always be a minimal delay when input is received from the player and sent back after being processed by the server. In Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, your position is checked by the server once every 0.3 seconds. This timing is synced and processed according to the servers to prevent lag between your input and what you see. During Phase 3, however, this syncing did not take place due to stringent server checks that took place, causing lag between what you saw on the enemy progress bar and your character's positioning. As a result, even if you appear to be outside the area of impact when the progress bar was filled, damage was still taken. Adjustments are being made to reduce lag as much as possible, and syncing should improve the timing between enemy cast bars, area of effect markers, and the actual attacks. Rest assured that we're doing what we can to make sure players can safely evade attacks by watching enemy cast bars and markers for area attacks. Players overseas were also affected by having to access the Japan data center in version 1.0, as this further delayed the relay of data from our server. With the establishment of a regional data center and the above measures being taken to improve syncing with the servers, we will continue working to ensure an enjoyable gaming experience for all our players. Even with a great connection, I think there's still maybe a 0.1 second margin of error with the cast bar, so make sure to get that out of the way when playing with your party. So it sounds like they've pretty much covered, overall, I'd say 90% or 95% of the issues we were having, hopefully. So I'll test it out to see if I can confirm it. Around Phase 4 on launch day if we make it back into Ifrit again. So that's really nice to hear from Yoshi P himself. Okay, now this part I am not going to read. This is like, I love Fern Hollis, but he does freaking novels of posts. So I read it myself already, but I'm not going to read it back to you guys. The basic gist of it was explaining why the Japanese names for cast and stuff were called like Thunder, Thundaga, Thundara, or something like that, kind of like classic Final Fantasy style spells, and why they switched them to Thunder 1, Thunder 2, Thunder 3, Thunder 4, so on and so forth. The reason he said it was because if they start adding more at level cap, it becomes a little ridiculous. He goes into further explanation of why they wanted to avoid that, because it's easier for players that are new to the game to come in and figure out, like, oh, this is Cure 1, this is Cure 2, this is Cure 3, 4, and 5. Instead of saying, like, oh, is Curaga the AoE one, or is Cura the good one, or the lesser one? Is Curaja the third one? So, some people express their opinions that it's not a big deal to them, and they like the classic style. I like the classic style too, but then again, the number method does make sense. It doesn't bother me, but whatever works. I mean, it's not a big deal for me personally, but I do like the classic style slightly better, but I do understand fully why Fern Hollis and the team did this. If you have any concerns or want to express your opinion, go on to this forum, which is noticed as why are the classic spell names in the JP version but not in the English version section. So I'll have this linked as well so you can check out Fern Holly's post and read entirely what his explanation was for them going down this method. So, yeah. Okay, so the next one we're going to go over is by Hivener. And he says, and the award for best performance in a foreign language goes to... And he pulls out the card saying, from Trojan 805. Any chance that we can hear the voices in Japanese with English subs? I would thoroughly enjoy it, and I think others would too. So Hivener responds by saying, around the time of E3 when we released the Crystal's Call trailer, we saw and continue to see comments from players like yourself saying they would like to listen to different languages in their game. Well, as we recently mentioned, in Beta Phase 4 we will be implementing voiceovers to cutscenes. In addition to that, we will also be adding a setting that will allow you to change the voice language for cutscenes.
The subtitle language will reflect the language settings chosen before booting up the game. So for example, if you're playing the game in English, you could set the subtitles to English and listen to the voices in Japanese. So if you're a big fan of Japanese voice acting and hate the Americanized English voice acting, this is good news for you. You can listen to the entire game in Japanese voiceovers and still have English subs. So good news for you guys, and that also goes for the German and French sections too. For all 4 languages you can choose from. Pretty awesome. Alright, so the next one is, don't talk with your mouth closed. Hivnir comes in here with another card saying, from Frost Mage Marie, saying, I know there are a variety of emotes in the game that come with their own emote text, but I was wondering if anyone has heard anything about conversation animations when people speak in /say channel. Hivnir responds by saying, with some good news, we've seen some requests for this, like this for a talk emote that would make your character's mouth move. In Beta Phase 4, we will be making it possible to set it so your characters moves their lips when chatting in /say, /linkshell, and other chat channels. Also, we feel it would be possible to really bring out more emotion by having your lips move while using certain expression emotes. So that is really nice and really cool attention to detail. So when you're typing in /say or chatting with your Linkshell members, your character's lips will be moving and voicing it out as it's being typed out. So when you type it, they'll be saying it and stuff. So that's pretty neat. So maybe like if while you're typing, you'll see your character's voice move, so you know someone's actively talking to someone or something like that. That's a nice little touch. And then for the emotes, when you're expressing like your facial expressions, you'll probably have like lips moving in that too for certain things, which is pretty neat. So maybe like when you're sleeping, like your lips will blow or whatever. So that's a nice, really cool thing. We did not have that in 1.0, so that's really awesome. The next post by Hivnir yet again, he's on a roll, says, we provided an update statement to this. I'll repost it so there isn't any confusion. He says, sorry for the confusion. The latest information on Lodestone is more accurate. Character data can be transferred over from Beta Phase 4 to launch, and on launch, a character edit flag will be activated for 1.0 players, giving them a chance to change their character's appearance once. We're still deciding whether this will take place during early access or on August 27th, and we'll update you once we know more. So basically what they're saying is, during Phase 4, your character stays the same from 1.0. You can progress and gain story progression and all that good stuff, but when Phase 4 ends, which is only like a week long, I think it is, when launch comes, all your progress from Phase 4 gets saved, and then you get the option for a flag that pops up that if you want to change your character's look. So yes, that means you'll play the beginning portion of the game with a different looking character, and then you'll end up with a completely different looking one on launch. So if you don't want that, then don't play in Phase 4 and don't make any progress. But if you don't mind, then jump right in and play away and save all your progress. The one thing that they're saying is they're not sure if the character flag option is going to pop up during early access for pre-orders and legacy players, or if it's going to be on August 27th when it's a worldwide release launch. So they're still thinking about that, and they're going to let us know back, probably at the Letter from the Producer Live on this Thursday, what the dealio is going to be. So that's pretty cool for people that were wondering about that. Next one's from Okipweet. Says, need to hear the voices for a better experience, in my opinion, at least in the main story cinematics. As far as sound effects and music, I really liked it. That was by okay, fuck that guy's name. But it was by that guy, if you could pronounce it. Okipweet responds by saying, we know a lot of you have been asking when the voices will be implemented, and we can finally say that the voiceovers will be added in Phase 4. We can't wait for you guys to check them out, and be sure to let us know what you think. So Phase 4, whenever that starts after the 8th sometime, is when voice acting will finally be implemented into A Realm Reborn. So Phase 4, look forward to it. Here is a screenshot that Okipweet shared from Japanese rep Foxclon, who you usually see on the live letters and videos with Yoshi P, posted an image of him in GM jail. So this is what the new jail looks like. Not too much different from 14.1.0's jail, but somewhat different. Says that it seems that our other Morbo rep, Foxclon, has found himself in an infamous room of no escape. Mordian Gal. Trust me when I say that you don't want to end up in here. Foxclon said that the restrictions in there were really harsh. You can't even /sit. So it's a little glimpse of for people that misbehave and get sent to jail. The next section is actually a little bit of a shout out to a player created forum thread for the Hures. So this is basically a shout out to all Huron players, or Hiren players, however you wish to pronounce them. Now this is my character that I created, my Highlander chick that I shared with you guys earlier. A couple screenshots of her, of sharing the Hure potential. Here's my main character Jerbird, wearing his dark steel, dark light armor. And here he is in crafting gear. And then here he is chilling out with some Makotes in Thanalan, out in the desert. Don't ask me what she's doing with her hand down there, but I'll let you guys figure that one out. So anyway, this is the... Let me go to the first page real quick. The Hure thread. So basically he says, rate the Hure above you thread. Thought it would be fun to make one of these for Hure. Seen the Makoti and Rogadin, and Lalafell one has apparently, and liked them a lot. So here is one for the Hure Midlander or Highlander, male or female. So you can check out through the thread of all the Hures that people created in the game, both male and female, Midlander and Highlander, and you can post all your characters in here and share them with everybody and check them out. So pretty cool creations in here, really nice stuff. And it's also going to segue into another one that I'm going to show off, which is the female Highlanders thread. So apparently, I guess people wanted to spread some love against Midlanders versus Highlanders, and I submitted some more photos of my Highlander chick. Here she is in some of the main story quests. Here's some revealing shots of her. No boners, please. But here's in the character creation for the benchmark that I showed off earlier. They're wearing different armors. Here's a blonde Highlander I created. A couple more shots. And this one person that posted below me did a really great Highlander as well. Really awesome stuff. Wearing the Coty crafting gear for the retainers and whatnot that we had in 1.0. They put on her. Dyed it red and blue. I love this last shot that they did right here. Looking at the camera. It looks great. So check out this thread too. I'll go up to the top of the page where you can see what it's all about. This is female Highlanders versus Midlanders. It says, why does everyone seem to prefer Highlanders? I'll probably mess with the other character creator at some point, but as someone who wants to try a Midlander, what am I missing here? What does everyone stand on this? So everyone started posting their Highlanders and showing off like why they love them so much. And I personally love the male I love the male Midlanders better than the Highlanders, but I love the female Highlanders better than the female Midlanders, if that makes any sense. It sounded really confusing. I don't know. To me, the fucking Highlanders, I tried creating one. I created a pretty decent one, but most of the ones I see running around look like a bunch of Neanderthals, so I'm not too much into them. But you do have the potential to create some pretty cool ones, though. I like the one I created, but most of the ones I see I'm not too fond of. So I like the Midlanders better. But for female Hures, I like both Midlander and Highlander, but I definitely go with the Highlander, obviously, because, I don't know, they just look more like Amazonian chicks or something. They just look a lot more attractive to me. So I like choosing them instead. And if I didn't have Jerbird, oh my god, I don't know what the hell that gif was. If I didn't have Jerbird, I probably would be playing as the one I created down here primarily instead. So I'll probably be playing her on my off time when I'm not playing on my main character. And then this other thread I wanted to give a shout out to was, it's a little bit of an old one, but it's the oil painting screenshot thread. So it shows the, if you port into Photoshop, the steps it takes to create one of these. So it looks really cartoony and very painty-like, and it's really awesome what this person did here. So you can see a bunch more in this thread that you guys can share with. See if I can find some good ones in here. There's a pretty neat one. A little oil painted. Looks really neat. Couple more shots. Interesting one right here of Ifrit. So if I go to the last page, see some more. One riding his Chocobo, the Starry Night Sky. Here's one of the Chocobo ranches in the Black Shroud. This one looks interesting. This is in the Leonesaurus region. This one's freaking awesome. They did the Corthus. Now this is of Ishgard from 1.0, and they added like extra touches up top. This one is freaking amazing. I love this one. Surprised I didn't like that one yet. I'm actually going to show you some of mine in a second here. Just go to the bottom of this page. This one's really cool. Very, very colorful with the coral in the foreground or background or whatever. There's a couple more that this person did. So, really cool stuff. Now, I'm going to share with you guys real quick one in my folder right over here. And here's an oil painting of that I did on Photoshop with the screenshot of my adventure sitting around a couple of Keygram. Here's one fighting the gargoyle in the main story quest. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but here's a Pugil that's in Leonesaurus, one of the streams. A bunch of goblins sitting out Limsa. Here's an Axebeak dude. Here's Ifrit blowing some terrible fire on my character while he's tanking. Here's my main character again. Here's an awesome flamethrower shot of Ifrit on whoever the hell's unfortunate enough to be in front of that. Another one of him sitting under the eclipse. Here's one on my Chocobo. Out in Leonesaurus, you can see Limsa Lamines in the background. And then here's an awesome one with the giant rock-solid Aether that's going through one of these structures right outside Aleport. So that's going to wrap up that section right there. Just figured I'd show you guys that. Pretty cool stuff. Now, the last part I just want to do before I wrap up this video is our grade 6 link shell website, which our free company name has finally been decided. It will be, as of right now, as long as there's no changes, is Dark Matter. So we came up with grade 6 as the link shell, and the free company will become Dark Matter. So if you're still interested in checking out our website, head over here, message me, or Galoizu Crescent, who is my link shell leader. You can find him over, let me see if I can find him right here. You can find his page. You can send him a message for joining the link shell / free company. Just check us out on the Excalibur server if you're interested with joining us, playing with us. We do endgame content. We sit around and bullshit. We hang out, have a good time. We joke around. We help each other out. We try and get as much done for everybody as we can. We're not the best link shell out there. We're not going to blow your mind away, but we get shit done. So we're not about world first or anything crazy like that, but we just do endgame stuff. We chill out, help each other out. So I'd say we're a hardcore link shell, but we know how to have a good time and chill out. We're not really like super serious, but we have our serious moments, like when we have to be. So we're pretty well-rounded. If you're interested in checking us out, playing with us, we've got plenty of space for you guys if you want to join. Just send us a message or find us in game or whatnot, any by means necessary. And then another thing I want to share with you guys for our new Dark Matter name that we pulled out is the company logo / mascot that I created for our website that's going to be added, which is the Spriggan. Now, the story behind this is, for Dark Matter, is grade 6 was the original name. Now, grade 6 was a bet that me and my friend and my other friend made with each other, Galu and our friend Sorako, who were both on my previous video for our E3 special. Before I had joined, they came up with a bet, and whoever won the bet would name it grade 6. That was one of their choices, because I guess they act like they're in grade 6 or whatever, like children, because we like joke around all the time and stuff. So that's how we got the grade 6 name. Now, the way I saw it originally was grade 6 meant grade 6 Dark Matter. Now, Dark Matter, as you know, only goes up to grade 5. So the way I put a spin on it was like, well, we'll be like grade 6. We're like the step beyond Dark Matter. We're like the next step of Dark Matter. Everyone loves Dark Matter, so we get it all the time. It's like, because Dark Matter is essentially the repair material that repairs all gear, items, and everything that holds them all together and bounds them in Eorzea, keeps things strong. So I figure we're like grade 6 Dark Matter, which I drew right here, which a Spriggan holds, because Spriggans usually carry ores and minerals and stuff and rocks. And I gave him a little piece of Dark Matter, which is in crystallized form. So the Dark Matter was so powerful in its grade 6 level that it became fused with Aether and crystallized, and it's the best form of Dark Matter out there. So it's basically, since Dark Matter holds items and weapons and gear together and bounds them to repair them and keep them strong and intact, that's kind of like what our link shell's like. We've been around for quite some time, so well over a year or so since we formed it. But that's a little bit of a backstory how we came up with the name. So, and it sounds pretty cool. It's Final Fantasy related, so I drew the little Spriggan, his little crackhead that likes going around with the Dark Matter. He's a little mascot. It's not finalized, but this is a little drawing that I came up with in design, so let me know what you guys think. And eventually he'll be on the website or something. So maybe we can get a company insignia in-game of a Spriggan, maybe, once they implement it. So yeah, that's going to end this episode. I think that about wraps everything up. I don't think there's anything else left to talk about, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you found it informative, not too long. I'm going to try and shorten them down in the future from this point onwards with launch coming up pretty soon. We're going to be doing a little bit more bite-sized videos and gameplay snippets, gameplay videos and boss battles and dungeon videos and all sorts of stuff. So look forward to that and any further updates, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later, guys.